your life you've been doing things the way they're supposed to be done, right? You went to school, then you went to college, but then you got a job and you woke up at this time. All these like set stuff, yeah? But now imagine all of that is taken away and nobody knows you. So there's no ideas about who you are and what you've done, nothing. You're just in this body and you're in another country, no one knows you, and you can do whatever you want, however you want. You start to realize you've given yourself the freedom, time and space to work out what you like, what you don't like, who you are when nobody knows you, who you are when you're by yourself. In our lives, when we're around people that have known us because they've grown up with us or worked with us, we have set ideas of each other. That can limit us from growing because we start acting the way that we think people expect us to be. But when you are traveling and no one knows you, you're free to show up as the person that you feel most aligned with in that moment. And so you do find yourself, you do find out who you really are. And so that's the biggest thing, that you connect to yourself in a way you never connected to yourself before. And when you connect to yourself that much deeply, you're able to connect with others.
Welcome to the 51%, the podcast where we cut through the noise and get back to basics when it comes to women's health. Through expert insights and powerful personal stories, we help you tune into what really matters: your body, your well-being, your life. No one-size-fits-all advice, just real conversations to help you understand your health on your terms. But before we dive in, I've got a quick favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and join the 51% community on our website. It's free and helps us grow, reach more women, and create events that really speak to the health and wealth challenges we all face. And finally, just so you know, everything shared is for information only. It's not medical or financial advice, and always speak to a qualified expert for support that's right for you. Jaimini, welcome to the podcast. It's fantastic to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm again really excited to have this conversation because once again, it's something that I'm really passionate about and I love doing, and that's traveling.
Yeah.
Of course, the way you travel is something that I've always aspired to do, and hopefully I still have some time to do it when my kids get older. But could you please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey from, what you were doing before to what you're doing now, and what kind of inspired you to do what you're doing? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for reaching out and making this happen. It's so nice to connect with you, and the conversation we had before, which was basically a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We had so much in common. It was just unbelievable. We're kind of like from slightly different generations, but it's almost like we followed a very, very similar path.
Yeah.
Also working at IBM
I
and
know.
things like that. I know, it was crazy.
So many parallels.
Yeah. The only thing obviously I didn't quite do is the traveling bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. It's a huge question. So where was I and how have I got to kind of where I am with it now? Well, I grew up similar to you, as we discussed, like Indian home and, migrant family and so on. So, and I grew up in like an area which is very, kind of rough, and the school I went to was rough and all of that. So I just kind of had these ideas that my life was just there. I couldn't see beyond that. But I always had these like fantasies of like me being an explorer, or like, back in the days when you didn't have internet, so we'd have brochures.
Oh yeah.
And whenever we'd go into those like brochure places, like those there were travel agents you had to book at, I would be like, and I'd be fascinated. I just want that blue ocean with palm trees. I was like, is this real? This exists? Like, Mum, Dad, can we go there? But it's like, 3,000 whatever per person. And that was just kind of like, no,
Yeah,
but it was always like, I guess it was like they were like seeds for me, and there was something burning in me to like see this world. And I remember like my mum used to get us to read the newspaper, and there was an article about a man that had gone sailing around the world in 90 days, and I was just like, wow, I wish I could do something like that. It just stuck with me. So there was always this something there. And my dad's so much, he's an adventurer. So whenever we're going out, we would go around trips around the UK or to the beaches and so on in the summer. He'd have his safari hat on, his sunglasses, and he'd make me and my sister sit in the front with him with the big AA maps. So this is like pre-internet, pre-GPS. So we'd have the maps and we'd have to be like, no, you have to turn left there, I can't see. And it was just the start of adventure. Bought us our first tent and we'd sleep in the garden one night, things like that. So there was this in me, but I just followed the path that everyone else does because I didn't know there was other options. And that's the big thing, I think, that had I known then what I know now about the kind of options that are possible, I would have maybe done that differently as well. But yeah, so I went to university and got a good job, tick, 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 tick. But I still had that feeling like, I really I want to travel. And that like started to like burn, and so it was there. But then I got a job straight away. I got offered a graduate job after uni, and I was like, can't turn that down, I have to. I didn't even have money to go traveling anyway, so I was like, okay, what I'll do is I'll work 3 years and then I'll go. And I kind of was buying myself time, not just to save, but because I didn't really know how. I didn't really feel that brave. I just didn't think that I couldn't imagine myself, the person who I was then, doing something like that. And so I guess then I started doing this corporate job, and it was kind of always building because I was like, in this corporate job, I was like having a great time at first, earning loads of money, like lived in Zone 2 London, and I bought, Louboutin shoes. And then I was just like, okay, and now, I was like, this is like, okay, this is cool, but it's not that cool because I never grew up with that. So I realized I didn't even miss this. I tasted it. It was like I was just tasting all the time with what I could do now.
Have
and
you
it
still
just
got those Louis Vuitton shoes?
Louis Vuittons are red, like the red sole ones. No, I sold them like a couple of years ago because I was like, this is pointless. I like my feet wild and free with like my toes spread out. So, yeah. And so I remember thinking like, is this it? There's got to be more to life than this. Like I've made it. I've done all the things. So, and it's not that great. So I was like, I gotta go traveling. And yeah, so after 3 years, as it was coming up, I did during those 3 years, I did like a short trip of 3 weeks to Thailand with friends at work, three girls at work who'd done traveling backpacking before. So one of them lent me their backpack and we all went, and it was the first time I ever did something like moving around, sleeping in hostels, moving around from one place to another. So I got this kind of like training. I guess I started to speak to myself differently, and I was like, yeah, but if this, and if I don't do it, then this. And I tried to like, I looked at putting the deposit down on a house and stuff, and then I was like, no, that's not me. What you could get for like your money was just so rubbish, and I didn't want to feel trapped. And then it started itching more and more, and I was like, I'm ready. I started doing research, and I was like, I'll just go to Thailand, and I'll do a year, and then I come back and continue, And then I like I told my boss that this is what I'm thinking, and he was like, hang on a minute, don't be in a rush, I'll offer you a sabbatical, blah blah blah. They offered me a sabbatical. He'd traveled a lot as well when he was younger, so he understood, and he was happy and excited for me. And so I got the sabbatical, and with my parents, yeah, basically I left, and I thought I'd be gone a year. I didn't really have that many plans. I was naive, and I think looking back now, the naivety helped me, because had I known so much and had been so planned and prepared, maybe I wouldn't have taken the steps that I did, because I just went with a one-way ticket to Bangkok, and the idea that, yeah, it sounds like a movie, and it was just like one-way ticket to Bangkok, and I had the first hostel booked, and that was it. Obviously there's loads to talk about all that, what happened in there, but I'll give the summary. So I did those 2 years and learned so much about life, about myself, because I had the opportunity to connect with myself, basically. And when I came back to England, I just wasn't the same, obviously, because you've grown so much. But I didn't, while you're growing, you don't know you're growing. So it was really hard time. It was a really hard time for me. And I probably now looking back, if now that I have the vocabulary, maybe I'd say I was depressed or going through like a little crisis, an existential crisis, but I didn't know that then. Just crying a lot, not knowing why I was crying, not having people feeling like I was alone, not having someone to speak to that could resonate with what I was saying. It was like, it's like you've lived this whole thing but life is just continuing and everyone just was getting on. No one's like asking me about whatever. And there was no integration. Okay, so I've gone back to work now and I've had to have surgery. So that's why I'd actually really gone back to work so I could get private healthcare. But I was like, nah, this is not. Yeah. I mean, everyone knew. I was really honest about it because I was like, I don't want to cheat my boss. I love my boss. He's done so much for me. So I went, and they were just happy that I was back and now I can make the money. I guess I'm just a number as well.
Yeah.
And I went back for 10 months and quit again. And this time I was totally lost and I just went, I was like, okay, I was just kind of running away. So now the traveling changed from that first trip was like, I want to explore nature and so on. And then now this time I was just running away from my own discomfort and went to Greece to help to work with the influx of asylum seekers that were coming in from Syria. And ended up there for 8 months basically in Greece. And then I was like, this is not like, I can't just stay here doing this. And also it just doesn't feel right. I feel like this is not, anyway, that's another story. But I was like, I need to go. But in that time I had done a qualification to teach English as a foreign language. And that's what I was doing in Greece, just helping where I could. And I was like, wow, actually teaching's all right. I kind of enjoy it. And I found a job. A girlfriend of mine, she said, there's a job in the Galapagos. You loved it there. Why don't you just go back there? That was a place that I'd found on my travels and stayed a long time in my travels. And I was like, yeah, let's see. I don't know. There's always volunteering. Anyway, applied. Everything happened overnight, just so quickly. I got the job and they were asking me to come out there. And then I went and lived there for 3 years, almost, basically, yeah. So now my traveling had changed from like escaping to actually going and living somewhere and having a job there and making a life there. So it was just like, oh, I didn't know it then, but I guess I was living a nomadic life.
Yeah.
So then I was there for, till the end of 2020. Then it was pandemic and I'd come back because my granddad was sick and home stuff and blah, blah, blah. And was home for again. And this time I was without a job. And that is scary, that is scary. Especially it started to hit me like, what kind of life am I living? I guess it never really hit me that I'd gone into like that kind of lifestyle. I just thought that's what other people do. Anyway, I went back to corporate world. Luckily, I had that amazing boss who was like, come and work for me and just do it for a bit, make some money and then you can go. And I was like, okay, I'll make some money. I can make up the money that I've like spent all these years. And then I was ready to go to India. So finished working with my boss and then I went to India and then that was supposed to be just to do my yoga teacher training 6-week trip, but story of my life, stayed there for 2 years.
Wow.
And then
that's a long time to stay in India.
Yeah, I came back and forth, but overall I was there 2 years and then last July I came back to London. So 10 years nomadic life and now I'm in London, kind of like now I'm in the stage where I'm like, okay, travel will always, living nomadically, I think that's going to be part of my life for a while. But right now I'm in this stage where I'm doing what I'm doing with you, which is basically trying to share the stories, share the learnings, because so much has happened in these 10 years that, like everyone, your experience teaches you lessons about life and therefore then guides you in your life if you choose to see it like that. And I'm at that stage where I'm taking the learnings and also combining it with this deep interest I have for the Vedantic philosophy and the beautiful wisdom that comes from India, because it essentially is like therapy and trying to share it. So
Wow, that is a journey and a half. I mean, you've been through lots of different situations, experiences, mindset shifts. There's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah.
Let me just like rewind to the kind of the beginning, really, in the sense that you're kind of thinking about it and you're talking yourself out of it, which
Yeah.
is probably what I did, and a lot of people do. They do that. You said that you changed your mindset and started saying different things to yourself. How did
Yeah.
that help? And what kind of things did you start saying to yourself? And how long did it take between you having that kind of negative voice in your head or kind of
Yeah.
saying, no, no, you can't do that. I've got to stick to my plan of working for the rest of my
Yeah.
life and at this desk and then retiring when I'm 65.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, yeah, all right. I think it was a whole year that it took, basically, for
Yeah.
me having this like um kind of training trip and then being like, no, I had the feeling like, no, I have to do this. I definitely have to do this. Don't know how or when, but I have to do this. And then for the next year, it was like, okay, all right, fine. If you're going to do this, when? And all right, then what does that look like? Okay, but then this, but then this, but this, but what if? And one of the things that helped me is that once you start having that questioning, you start to look, you start to speak to people that have done it and try and find out what they think. And there are a lot of opinions, but in the end, you always have your inner voice, which kind of tells you.
Yeah.
And I was like reading online back then, blogs was a thing, and trying to find people that have quit my job and gone traveling. And it was just like, I guess the message that kept coming back to me from, you see, the thing is, when you have an inner knowing, that inner knowing will come out through what you read, come out through different conversations, come out in your dreams, because you're kind of always looking for it. And then as soon as something speaks to your inner voice and it matches it, then you're like, this is what I have to do. And the message that kept coming up for me was that, basically, it's very cliche or common saying now, but you only regret the things you don't do. And that was it for me. It was like, if I do this and I don't get a job after, or it's really hard to get a job after and come back to this life, will I regret having gone away and all the things that I'm going to get from that? No.
Yeah.
Even if it is really hard and stuff, I'm still not going to regret it. It's still going to have been the best decision. And if I don't go, and I have this life, am I going to regret not going? Yes, 100%. So I think that I remember that specific thought taking me to the right. I'm doing it,
Yeah.
And I remember writing about it and saying, like, it's like, when you have like vouchers for Sainsbury's or Tesco's that you've collected over because you've gotten so many points, but you just keep waiting to use them, thinking, when I buy something big, I'll use it. When I do a big shop,
God, yeah.
and you don't use them.
Yeah.
And then it's expiring, and then you end up using them in a way you didn't really want to use them, and you could have used them on that other shop,
Yeah.
And that's what it's like. That's what it felt like. I was like, I got to just use my vouchers, or like you have something in your wardrobe and think, I'll wear it for that, I'll wear it for that, and you just don't wear it. It's just sitting there like, in Gujarati you say sobhanu, for looks or something.
Yeah.
And so it was like having that kind of talk to myself. I very much realized in my life I look at metaphors a lot, and it was like looking at life in metaphors and realizing, this doesn't make sense. It's only my mind saying this stuff because of the fears and because of what everyone else does. But it's good to surround yourself with people that have done the thing that you would like to do, and because then you can see that it is possible, whereas where I grew up in Ilford, I couldn't see how that was possible because I'd never seen a brown woman do something like that, and even at IBM there wasn't brown women doing it. It was white boys and girls, but it was closer to what I'd ever seen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the same with me. When I was at IBM, it was just more, I was surrounded by obviously white people more, and they had done a lot of different things that I had never ever done. And even growing up, I mean, my time was a bit different to yours, but it was, same in terms of immigrant family coming over, and obviously that expectations already there that you're going to get an education and get into this amazing job and work your way up and blah blah blah, that it carries on.
Yeah.
But when you're exposed to other people that have done all these different things, you just think, oh, well, why haven't I done that? What is that?
Yeah.
How do you even do that? But of course you've got to bear in mind that, if you are from an immigrant family, most likely you probably haven't done those things, and they would have done those things because they've been here for their ancestors have been here for many, many years, right?
Yeah, and also just it goes so much deeper. It's
Yeah.
so deep, isn't it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Colonialism, all of that, racism, all of that plays a role in how the Indian diaspora. I can't speak for other races, obviously, but other races too. But the Indian diaspora have lived in the countries that they're living in. Obviously that's changing now and so on, but yeah, then it just carries on for generations, those patterns. So yeah, it's hard to break the cycle.
Yeah. So I know obviously the first step was changing your mindset and
Yeah,
kind of making sure that you had that mindset of, no, I am going to do this. And then at some point you decided, no, I am doing this. It's
yeah,
happening.
yeah,
The next step was your family, your parents.
yeah,
How
yeah,
did you overcome that? Because that is, again, from South Asian communities, and it's a big taboo. It's a barrier, right? And
yeah,
fear. There's all sorts of things going on there. So how did you overcome that? And how did your parents kind of accept what you were
yeah.
doing?
Um, well, obviously everyone's parents are different,
Yeah.
yeah. And I have I have a big family, and we all kind of are like, that typical, we all get together on the weekend.
Mm.
We used to do that. And also, we also have a community, which is quite common with Gujaratis, I think. And so, like, all the community knows each other and stuff. And
Yeah.
so there's all like, what will other people say kind of thing, especially for my mum, that was a thing, and my grandma, that's a thing. For women, I think it's bigger.
Yeah.
So there was that kind of thing playing with them. And yeah, I remember my mum didn't want to tell my nanny, I think, at first. But yeah, so, but at the same time, we always grew up really close with my parents, and they're integrated in our lives, and they like the closeness as well. So I think just generally in life, what I see of them is that because they see the way we're living, if they want to stay close to us, they're forced to grow.
Yeah.
They can't stay in their ways, otherwise they lose the connection with us. So
Mm.
I've seen them also grow throughout life and change their mindsets and things. But
Mm.
in that particular, so why I want to say that is because not everyone's parents are going to be like that, and therefore you'd be dealing with a complete different scenario. And I understand that.
Yeah.
In some way, it was my privilege to have that. So yeah, I think I guess I was quite logical about it. And like I said to them, if I stay and do what you want me to do, because that's what you want, because you think that will make you happy and you think that will make me happy, but I'm not happy. If I'm not happy, how are you going to feel? And then, when you make them, I think it was just like placing it back to them that if what's really important to you is happiness, yours and mine, then let that guide the decision.
Yeah.
And if I'm going anyway, yeah, I remember saying, like, if I'm going anyway. I'm not asking your permission. I'm telling you, I'm going anyway. So if I'm going anyway, it's better you support me, and then I can then include you on the journey with me. Then it be something that you don't like, and then we don't have connection. You're gonna just suffer more.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was deep conversations, but I think it made them think, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
helpful, those kind of questions, because a lot of the time there can be battles between, yourself and your parents. And
yeah,
kind of just saying that also helps to clarify, maybe if there is someone out there, thinking, well, how do I have this conversation with my parents? some of the things you suggested, that's how you can start. And I can see the IBM sales training has come in really handy.
Yeah, yeah.
The negotiating and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. The magic questions.
Yeah.
And also, I think the biggest thing is that you personally, you have to have compassion for your parents and
Yeah.
deep understanding about why they think the way they do. Because my questions only came from a place of understanding that they were in a complete different. It made sense why they would feel like that. So I wasn't against them for feeling like that. I just needed them to see things differently,
Yeah.
which is only possible when you try and explain how you are, So yeah, I think the main thing is try to understand them, why they think the way they do, and then you'll know how to help them see things differently for your sake.
So you've been to so many countries.
Yeah.
What, obviously each country will bring you different things, different experiences, and all
Yeah.
of that. Of course it will. What kind of top things would you say have been the main benefits of you traveling alone? And also, can you talk a bit about safety as well? Because I know a lot of women, especially now, are concerned
Yeah.
about safety, especially if they're traveling alone. It's different if they're traveling in big groups, but
Yeah.
you know,
I think that a lot of the safety concerns we have come because obviously as women we've experienced men being gross basically
yeah,
towards us in our everyday. You'd have it on the, I've never got on the tube and not have felt someone staring at me or coming close to me or whatever, not once. I mean, that's crazy.
yeah,
So obviously somewhere in our psyche there's a natural, like, got to be on your guard.
yeah,
And I think we get so used to being on our guard, we don't even know that we're on our guard. We just cross the road automatically. We never walk through the park at night, even if it's open.
yeah,
It's just now become part of our way of being. So, yeah, I mean, you still carry that wariness, um, or like awareness and guard with you when you travel. And at certain points it's a little bit more, like if you're on a bus, for example, an overnight bus or a train, then you're a bit more,
yeah,
wary. But otherwise, I was totally fine. I had a hairy moment, once, but that was my own naivety. And but other than that, I feel I've felt safer in 90% of the places I've traveled than I do coming out of Barking Station. In Australia, a little bit I did feel that, but in South America, Southeast Asia, in the big cities, you have to be careful. But then you have to be careful walking around London at night,
yeah,
Look how many phone thefts there are now. I think there was something that people just snatching phones or whatever.
yeah,
I mean, that will happen any big city. So, yeah, I think the thing is with the fear stuff, it's like the way other countries are painted, it's like it's like you're going to another planet, but you're not. When you remember that they're just humans just like us in other countries living their life just like us,
yeah,
and they also seek the same things in life, to love and be loved, to be happy and healthy. You're like, and when you experience it, you're like, there's nothing to be scared of. And also the safety is such a minor thing because the amount of love and kindness you experience when you travel, particularly if you travel solo, it's just it fills you so deeply. You will never be the same again. It starts to become impossible to be unkind, to not be generous. It changes you so deeply how much you receive from people that don't know you, that, yeah, safety is like such a minor thing. It's just, safety is just the normal way you're trying to be safe here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what? All the countries, you've been to so many countries, right? Like
Yeah.
in lots of different areas, different continents, even. What are the top things that it's brought you,
Yeah.
personally? What did these experiences give you?
Yeah. So I guess there's two categories. Yeah. One category is like the kind of literal, I guess.
Hmm.
Like I can speak Spanish. I'm fluent in Spanish, and that was from traveling, just from traveling. So that is something it's given me, right? Okay. But then there's like a whole nother category, which is like soft skills, let's
Yeah.
say, and things that are abstract and you can't put a value on it.
Hmm.
And that is like the sense of empowerment. The person you're speaking to today, I was always kind of confident, but the person you're speaking today is nothing like the Jaimini before,
Mm.
And like now I'm like, oh, if I wanna, if I wanna go camping by myself, if I just need a bit of adventure, got my tent, got no, won't even think twice about it. I just pick where I want to go and I go. So you live life in such an empowered way after that you don't even realize that you're empowered.
Yeah.
It's only when someone else says, like when we're talking about my retreat, and I'm realizing that, oh, for some people that's a big deal coming to India, but for
Mm.
me that's so normal and I haven't thought that through.
Mm.
So yeah, it gives you this kind of way of moving through life, which is like fully in your own power.
Yeah.
And it comes through in how you walk, it comes through in how you do your work, it comes through in how you walk, and you don't even realize it. And because of that, so many other things start changing and happening in your life because you move through life so empowered. So that's one huge thing. Then the biggest shift for me is that what traveling gives you is, people sometimes say, oh, you're going to find yourself and things like that. Yeah.
Mm.
And it sounds really cliche. And you think, and I used to think, okay, I don't know why I don't understand that comment.
Yeah.
But,
It's a bit
but
like Eat, Pray, Love, that film,
yeah,
and there's other films a bit like that as well.
yes. But you do find yourself. You
Hmm.
do find yourself because imagine that for all your life you've been doing things the way they're supposed to be done, right? You went to school, then you went to college, then perhaps you went to university, you didn't, but then you got a job and you woke up at this time and da 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 da, and Mondays to Fridays is this, Saturdays, all these like set stuff, yeah.
Mm.
You're a woman, so you wear this, and you're this, and so you do this, and it's all this set rules. But now imagine all of that is taken away, yeah, and nobody knows you, so there's no ideas about who you are and what you've done, nothing. You are like this, you're just in this body, and you're in another country, no one knows you, and you can do whatever you want, however you want. You can wake up when you want, you can eat what you want when you want. You can do what you want. You are completely free. Yes.
Mm.
If you have that, you are going to start to realize who you are because you're going to be like, oh, actually, I like waking up super early and I don't like staying up late. Or actually, I'm a night person and not a morning person. Or actually, I like a salty breakfast. I don't like eating this. Or actually, I don't like being around people that drink beer. Actually, I like this. And you start to realize you've given yourself the freedom, time, and space to work out what you like, what you don't like, who you are when nobody knows you, who
Mm.
you are when you're by yourself. So of course you find yourself because now you haven't got any, in our lives when we're around people that have known us because they've grown up with us or worked with us, we have set ideas of each other. That's
Mm.
very natural that we have to be like that because if we saw each other as fluid all the time, like if I said today you're this share but perhaps tomorrow you're a different share, which is possible, you are going to be different, part of you will have changed overnight for
Yeah.
sure, because something in your thinking has changed, but I'm still going to treat you like the share I met now.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what happens in life. We treat each other based on what we know of each other, and that is like a natural thing for the mind to do. But that means that that can limit us from growing because we start acting that the way that we think people expect us to be. But when you are traveling and no one knows you, you're free to show up as the person that you feel most aligned with in that moment. So if all your life you've been thinking and saying X, Y, Z, but you actually don't even feel like that anymore, then you can be that person. And then the next day, if you've grown up even a bit more, you can be that person. You can be that person. So you get to be fluid with yourself.
Mm.
And so you do find yourself. You do find out who you really are. And so that's the biggest thing that you connect to yourself in a way you never connected to yourself before. And when you connect to yourself that much deeply, you're able to connect with others. in a deeper way, because then now you can see them more clearly, So, and when you do that, you'll never have people in your life anymore that don't resonate with you, because you know who you are and what resonates with you. So you won't allow things in your life that don't resonate with you, because you value your time and space and your peace. And that's it. So it's kind of deep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, there's no doubt about, I, think that is definitely what it would bring me. And it just sounds like it's almost like a freedom, like being free with your mind and your body almost. And let's face it, living in this society right now, especially as it is, and with all these rules and regulations, and we all have rules and regulations. We may think we're free, but we're actually really not free, right? Whether people are working or not, whatever, we all have rules and regulations that we abide by and follow every single day, and that's not freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just following it and carrying on, going on and on, doing the same thing on this hamster wheel,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, yeah, we have got freedom because I get paid and I've got the freedom to go out for dinner or go out to the theatre. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. You have that freedom, but you're not free in your mind and body, like
Yeah.
totally. And it sounds like going through life with these experiences of traveling can really bring you that sense of freedom and understanding who you are and what you want, even because I feel like at the moment we're all conditioned to not, we don't really know truly what we want. We think we know what we want, but we don't really know what we want.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And that's the key thing there, that once you, that traveling just gives you that, traveling is just a tool, an instrument that gives you that feeling. There's other things that can give you that freedom as well. And so it doesn't have to be traveling, and some people can't or don't want to, and that's fine. But there are other ways you can get that as well. And once you have it, you're when you have that inner freedom, then it doesn't matter what you do in your life, you'll always be free. It doesn't, even if you have to work in a 9 to 5 corporate job that isn't your calling or your passion, let's say,
Yeah.
you'll be able to do it because you'll be free inside, because you know who you are and what's important to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what it makes you realize what, because true freedom isn't, like you said, it isn't just a financial freedom. It's a freedom from your ego, freedom from your patterns, freedom from your mind. It's a freedom that's so internal that doesn't matter what you then do outside, you'll always be free inside,
Yeah,
And
that's a valid point actually, because yes, okay, we may not all be in a position to just travel for the rest of our lives and live a nomadic life and whatever. And of course, if that's what you truly want, I'm sure you can make that happen once you start that kind of traveling and get used to it, like yourself. But if you come back and you've experienced all these things and then you do start work, but at least you're starting work with freedom, if that makes sense, which is exactly what you said. And that can make a huge difference, because yeah, it feels like a lot of people are working their regular jobs
yeah,
without that kind of freedom, if that, which is what you've just mentioned.
yeah, exactly, that's what it is. It's like, if you are, how you said we don't know what we want, yeah, what are we really seeking? And there is something, like, there is something that we're seeking. Something natural in us is seeking something, and that's why we keep going after experiences or jobs or something, because we think that, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll have that thing that I feel that I'm seeking. Even if we're not consciously aware that we're seeking something, we think that something that has to be done, and that's because it's true, there is something that needs to be done, but what we think it is that needs to be done and what actually it is are very different, because we don't know the truth of what it is our soul is trying to seek. We're trying to taste and do different things, thinking it's going to bring us that. So we think, oh, maybe the goal is to buy a house and have a family, and da da da, and that's a common thing that people seek and think that that's what, I'll be secure then,
Yeah.
and then when you have all that and you're still not, a bit like how I was like, now, Okay.
Yeah.
You know, then you start to realize, well, what is it then? What is it then? And that's why we use the word seeker. That is a spiritual path. When you start to question, is there more to life than this? What am I really looking for? You are on the path of seeking, of searching, or you're a sadhuk.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter what religion or non-religion or whatever, that's just a description of what's happening. So, yeah, and it's important to make that realization, because then you can start looking for what is real and live in the external world, whatever your external world is. If you have to work 9 to 5, you have to do that. That might be your path, but you can still be free inside by realizing that your true purpose here is more than that. So therefore you don't, even though you have to do those things and you live that life, that isn't your inner purpose. That might be, you have your outer purpose that you have to do because we have to live in this material world, and then you have your inner purpose.
I like that.
Yeah.
That gives it a bit of context, because people might be thinking, well, it's all right for you, Jaimini, you can just go off whenever you want. Now I'm in this, I've enrolled into this life of 9 to 5, and I've got, I've got kids, like I have kids and blah, blah, blah. I can't just go off like you.
Yeah.
But then you're right. This is my outer purpose. And I never thought of it like that. That's such a great way of putting it. My outer purpose is, doing these podcasts and etc., which I love doing. But, for me, this is my passion with health and stuff. But also my kids, my family and so on. But I also have an inner purpose.
Yeah.
Which is different. Once you know it, you can separate that. That is actually freedom, right?
That's freedom, exactly. See, it's just the realizing these truths that make you, in that one moment, you're like, oh, it's like you feel like relieved, and alleviation happens. That you're like, it all makes sense. It all makes sense, because I have been feeling this pressure that, I'm not doing this. I'm just only doing this, but that's what you have to do. Not everyone in their life. Not everyone is born. People are not born equal. We are not born equal.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's not some God in the clouds going, right, they're going to be born like this. No, it's all, the way I look at things is to do with your karmas and stuff. But yeah, we're not born equal. So you have to recognize what it is that your outer path has to be in order for you to live your inner path. You weren't meant to travel. In my opinion, you weren't meant to travel. You were meant to do everything you've done so that you can do what you do now, which is be the kind of mother you are now, to encourage your daughters to break those cycles and like help them. You're going to give them this thing that you couldn't give yourself, but you're supposed to give it as a mother, and this podcast helping other women, you wouldn't be doing this if if you had done all that traveling and stuff. You wouldn't be doing this now. And this
absolutely
feels fulfilling for you. So
oh yeah, absolutely. And I never actually thought of it that way, and I love the way you put that. It's actually made me think now, because you're always stuck in this whole frame of mind where it's like, this is it, but thinking about it as two separate things has actually really helped me now. The other question is then, how do you find your inner, how do you find it?
Your dharma.
Your
inner purpose. If there's a practical way of looking at it, where if I said to you, so I'm coaching now. This is what I do my coaching. But if you can, if you look at it like, what are the things that I feel are my natural inclinations in life? Yeah. So my natural inclination is doing this. Getting all like hyped up and speaking. I love the power of words and vocabulary. I love to write. I love to speak. And I love to help people see things differently, because I'm always trying to look at things differently. I'm always like picking up the glass and being like, okay, look at it like this, look at it like that. I like photography for that reason as well, And so if you look at what your natural inclinations are, that is your true purpose. It doesn't have to have a job. It might translate into a job, and that's great if it can, and if you do, and if it doesn't matter. But look at what your natural inclinations are, and that is what your inner purpose is. Some people's natural inclination is to be nurturing and to be like doting, and naturally they're mothers. Even if they don't have children, you can be a mother. You can give that energy. It's an energy of nurturing, of devotion, and being doting to plants or to animals or to looking after a house,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So when you find out, like, what are your natural inclinations, what is it, the kind of person you are in your essence since you were a child, because you find that whatever it is, you've been doing it all your life, you know, and sometimes we just haven't stopped to identify it and label it as something. So that would be, you know, the practical way of looking at it. Just think about what your natural inclinations are, and then I guess a more like energetic way, I suppose, of thinking about what your dharma is just thinking about, if you know, what feels aligned for you, you know, like if you took away the rules for a day, all the rules, if you had all the money and all the time in the world, no responsibilities, no one dependent on you, nothing at all, what would you do? You know, how would you spend your day? What would you want to be doing? How would you want to be walking? Where would you want to be living? What would you want to be doing in your spare time? What would you want to do to serve someone else? In what way would you feel that you would feel like, I feel good when I do this for other people? Then that can help you as well work out what it is.
Wow, a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
I really, you know what, the thing about looking back to your childhood, I think that's such a important thing, because obviously my childhood realities were very different to my realities now, and the
yeah,
things that I loved doing as a child, and some of the things, you know, I don't do now,
yeah.
you know, and I look back
Like
and think,
what?
so as a child, I used to love, I was so interested in stargazing and looking at the stars, finding the constellations, and I'd be so
Yeah,
intrigued about what's out there. And then I also used to love plane spotting, which is a bit weird, maybe,
yeah.
but I
So
don't know why.
you were curious about the bigger things, mystical things.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
I don't know, I got into plane spotting, which was sounds a bit sad, but I used to sit by my window in my bedroom and I'd wait for like the Concorde to fly by, that back then when the Concorde was around, and I'd just wait and wait because I knew exactly what time it was coming, and I'd wait.
wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I'd wait and it would roar past, and then I'd do that every day, almost every day, and then I'd write down like all the airplanes that would be flying by. So I'd look, I had these little binoculars that my parents bought me for my birthday because I begged them. I was like, please, 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 can you buy me these binoculars?
Yeah,
And I'd look and note down the flights and the airplane, you know, what, whether it was, I don't know, British Airways or a Qantas or an Emirates, whatever, I'd write it.
that's
I
amazing.
know, like really odd. I mean, not odd actually. I used to think it, as I grew older and became a teenager and obviously a much older adult, I used to think, God, that was a bit weird. I don't know if I'd say that publicly, that I used to plane spot. But now I don't care. Obviously, I don't care because I actually love doing it. And even now, every time I hear a huge plane flying by, I will make sure, I will try my best to go and have a look and see what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
And I don't know
exactly.
why I have this affinity to looking at, you know, even RAF jets. Like
Maybe you were a pilot in another life.
maybe, maybe, or yeah, or a space. What do you call them? Astronaut or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So these are the things, you know, I look back and think, you know, the things I used to love and the kind of person I used to be as well, you know, because
Hmm.
you kind of start changing, I guess, as well as you become an
Yeah.
adult, and you know, you get into this 9 to 5, and then, you know, with me, I have children, you start, your personality changes a little
Yeah,
bit.
you put on the uniform of adult, but in reality,
Exactly.
you're we're always the same. Our essence is always the same, and then it gets drummed out of us because we think we have to do what everyone else is doing. Put on this, put
Mm,
on that, and we start to put on all the costumes.
yeah.
Yeah, and this is why not just traveling. That the reason it was really important for me to highlight that you know, you can have that freedom without going traveling is because I've met people that can't travel,
Mm,
people that I've met in other countries that can't travel, and don't want to either, and
mm,
that's fine because there's so many other ways of connecting with yourself. Um, so yeah, one of the yeah, that's all I wanted to say. That
yeah.
it gives you that.
It seems like, you know, ultimately to connect with yourself, you do need some time out somewhere, even if it's in your own house, in your own little room, like locked
Yes,
inside with no,
exactly.
you know, you
This is
need,
the essence of it.
yeah.
The thing that the crux of what why traveling does that for you is because it gives you space and time to be in your mind. So that's that's my whole thing. Like, you don't need to travel because you can have solitude all the time. As soon as you wake up, yeah, in that moment when you wake up, you are by yourself. Yeah, before anyone knows you're awake, you're by yourself. In those few minutes that you're by yourself, I like to say, thank you, God, for giving me another day. When I say God, I'm not talking about a guy in the sky with a beard and gates that says you did something wrong you didn't know. That's not what I mean. When I think about God, I just want to be clear about that I'm not that person. But for me, God is the ultimate, the source, divine is the sun, and the universe, things I can't understand. And I think consciousness, I think thank you. And in that moment, I'm already in gratitude. So my body's already got hormones of gratitude going around. Then I just take a moment and I'm like, breathing. Wow, I'm breathing. Oh my God, my chest is moving and I'm slowing down. And then like thoughts start popping in. Yeah, the day's thoughts start going in. And I'm like, okay, not yet. I'm just going to stay with. And in those few minutes, that's enough to transform your whole day, because you've taken time for yourself to connect with your body, to connect with something greater, to connect with your mind, to connect with your breath. And that is transformative. And the only reason I started doing that, I didn't do that while I was traveling. I never did that before I went traveling. But after traveling, when I really struggled, when I was coming back, I was like, I was like, something's wrong and I don't know how to get it back. And it wasn't that and I had to look, well, what was it that traveling was giving me so that I can give that to myself now? And so I had to break it down. And that's when I started to think, I'm a big thinker. Now, what is it that traveling was actually giving me? One was the adventure. Yes, I love adventure. The other thing was nature. I have to have nature. Nature is now part of my life, just like going toilet is, it's not negotiable for me. I have to be in nature. And movement and exercise is another one. I have to exercise. And then solitude, huge for me. I spend so much time alone. I think it's so normal for me. But if other people saw how I live my life, they'd be like, wow, she's alone a lot, you know. And these are the things, these are the tools I started to work out. That's what was it that traveling was giving me. And it was basic space and time to just be. And that's what it is. And so that's why the answer, if you're looking for adventure and stuff like that, then yeah, go traveling. Yeah, do it. Good. But if you're looking to connect with yourself and go a bit deeper and have those other benefits that I've described about going traveling, then there's other ways of getting that, and that's meditation, it's journaling, it's solitude, it's nature, it's being around people who are genuinely aligned with who you are, and cutting out the people who are not, because that also drains you. You have to do that. Yeah. But that's
that
another
kind of
podcast.
answers. That kind of answers. Like I was leading on to, what about the people that can't do what you do, or maybe even a snippet of what you do? But you've answered that. There's so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, what do you suggest for a first timer? Like they want to do it, okay, and they can do it, and they've convinced themselves that they're going to do it. What would you suggest for someone that's just literally going to just go and do this one thing?
Yeah.
Any tips of where to go, or like what would you suggest?
I couldn't say that because I never did that. So what I would say is, trust yourself and just go for it. Don't overthink it. Trust yourself. Really trust yourself.
Yeah.
Trust that you can work it out, and trust in the world, because there are so many, 99% of the world are full of beautiful beings that want to help you.
Yeah. And this is why I think traveling as much as you can is so important, because you get to see the beauty of the world, as opposed to the crap you watch on TV these days, which is a whole load of negativity about all sorts of people. And then, then we end up thinking that's what it is and that's what that country is. But really, when you go to these places, you discover a different type of people.
The truth.
Yeah, the truth. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you so much. So I just, want to close off by talking about your retreat, because I know this is really important. You, with all your experience and everything, and you've been to so many places, you are now finally launching a retreat. So can you just briefly talk about that? And of course, I am going to put the details on
Yeah,
the show
yeah.
notes and everything, but it will also be put out in my emails as well. But have a little give a little explanation of what it is.
Yeah, thank you so much for the space to do that because, yeah, it's well, I guess you have a feeling for me now because of this conversation,
Yeah,
but this reality kind of embodies that. And yes, I teach yoga and meditation, but that is like a tiny part of what I do because the big thing is this, like helping people connect with themselves so then they can connect with each other and the earth better.
yeah,
And that for me, I do that through like workshops, self-discovery workshops, and inner child workshops, or letting go of resentment and anger and old pain and hurt, looking at your patterns. And I do that. Modern psychology uses like kind of modern therapy techniques, but our ancient texts have been talking about this for
yeah,
millennia.
yeah,
So I bring that into it, like the principles of ego, mind, the senses, the law of cause and effect, the eternal laws of nature. That's what these texts are about. And if
mm,
you understand the eternal laws of nature and you're in harmony with them, then things flow in your life, basically.
mm,
Right. And so I bring in that. And so that this retreat is for people who are like on that path of self-awareness and kind of want to have that time and space to go inwards in a guided way with someone who can deliver that knowledge in a way that's appetizing and
yeah,
digestible, basically. And that's what it is. So it's like we're in such a beautiful place. It used to be like a mansion and a home, and they've like refurbished it to like a retreat center, and they host multiple retreats a year there. So
where is it?
it's in the Himalayas, in this very beautiful village called Andretta, and it's like an artist colony. So it's got like the oldest pottery studio in India there, and part of the retreat will be going to doing a pottery workshop. So it's art, it's movement, it's nature because there's a waterfall and loads of nice places to walk, a heated swimming pool, a steam room, and yeah, obviously we'll be doing yoga and meditation and chanting. Yeah, because I'm learning to play the harmonium at the moment. But obviously, I've spent months and ages there in that area, so I've got friends and teachers that I want to bring in and do sessions as well, so that people can meet these people that I've met. And so this is part of why I want to do these retreats, is that I've traveled so much and I've met so many incredible people, artists and like movement specialists and masters and really enlightened people and
Yeah,
chefs and musicians, and oh my god. And I want people to experience those people
yeah,
as well as the place, as well as the culture. And so yeah, that's what it is. So kind of bringing together all my experience, my passion, and my mission for people to get that inner freedom,
yeah.
and condensing it into a week. And that's what it is. So
Wow,
it's called Remember Your Essence, retreat. Remember Your Essence.
that's fantastic. Quick final question.
Yeah,
What are your top three countries that you've been to?
yeah. So Galapagos Islands, 100%, which is part of Ecuador. There's no place like that on earth. That's number one. Oh God, it's so hard. Okay, Peru is incredible. Peru is so beautiful. So much to see in Peru and do in Peru. And then, yeah, I hit the Himalayas. Himalayas, I'd say India, but if I was trying to be specific, because
Yeah,
India's a continent, then I'd say the Himalayas.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the second time I've heard the Galapagos, as the top place that someone's
Really?
been to. Yeah,
You need to
yeah,
go.
yeah. It's a sign.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
you should do I don't know. Actually, I
I'd
don't know
love to
anything
do
about
a
the
retreat there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in my view. When I think of Galapagos, it's like you go there and you leave. You can't stay there, but I don't know.
No, yeah, you can stay there. Yeah, people stay there. You can do like cruise type tours, but
Yeah,
on land, I think, in my opinion, is
yeah,
100% much better. Yeah. So when I organize that, maybe for next year, you can come. That would be great.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And you
Yeah.
know what? I think there's something in, going to retreats like this with, or, just places like this with people that have had all this experience, that have been exposed to all this, lots of different people, lots of different cultures and different countries, um, and you bring all of that with you, which is just fantastic. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, it's not even just about the travel. You've talked about so much other stuff that it's been an eye opener for me and made me think, oh, my inner and my outer. I'd never really separated it like that. I just merged everything in one and got confused, really.
Yeah.
Because that's what people tend to do. But it's been a fabulous conversations. Thank you so much, Jaimini, for all your insights, all your words of wisdom. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've loved it. Thank you.